I don't think a lot of the AI tools are making companies more productive. I think it's giving people more time back to spend time on with their family. They can just let Claude run and build a PowerPoint, and then they can kind of go home earlier, or they can take a break. People are saying you can just build $1 billion company with one person. Well, it turns out that with AI, you still need really strong infrastructure, really good architecture. You still need really technical people that can architect all of that. And our mission is to really deliver the best accountant experience for a fraction of the price of that it is today, in a market where, frankly, most CPAs are retiring and no one's joining the workforce. As the SaaS apocalypse plays out, what is it that's going to drive value in society, or let's say in tech? And my opinion is the value is going to accrue to 3 places. And that's why we think you can actually build a profitable business in an AI world.
Hey, welcome to Sounds Good. How's it going, Sai?
It's going great. How are you, Anna?
Good, good. I was just thinking, I was doing a couple of episodes last week, and it was all about SaaS apocalypse, and everyone was kind of on edge. And this week is like, okay, it's different kind of news. This week, everyone's hyped about what Google is doing, and Anthropic releasing some weird new hires. So, how are you feeling?
I think it is every week is equally unhinged and exciting.
Yeah.
And I think generally we feel good. I think I said it before, and I said it to you once, that if you're on if you own the customer outcome, you're probably a little bit safer from the SaaS apocalypse, if the SaaS apocalypse is real. And we're a little bit closer to the outcome, so we feel good. But I would say, as a founder, every week you're kind of watching your back at the same time, enjoying the news.
Yeah. It's also something that I wanted to ask you because, a lot of the things that I read about right now, and, I also left my previous job, and it's very um, different views, right? There is one group of people that says this is the time, like, you don't need anybody, you can build anything, there is AI. And there is another group of people that says, shit, there is AI, and if you lose your job, that's it, you're nobody needs you because there is AI and they will
Mm.
substitute you with that. So where do you stand?
Yeah.
Where is your mind? Are you hiring, are you doing
Yeah.
AI? Do you think you're stable?
Yeah. I think it's a really good question. Um, there's never been more demand for really great people. We are hiring, and we are, willing to pay a lot for the best talent. So that has not changed. I think what has changed is, and I think this is a problem societally, is the demand for lower skilled or like more junior people has gone down. Or the way you hire that talent is changed. So, the reality is that you can hire one senior engineer who operates 10 AI agents instead of hiring one senior engineer and 3 junior engineers. So that's where the team structures have changed quite a bit. I did interview a senior engineer yesterday, very senior engineer, and I asked him, how many engineers do you need on your team to build what Deduction wants to build? And he said 0, which I was, I thought was interesting.
Ballsy.
I thought it was aggressive, but
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what I'm seeing. So I think if you are a builder, you're high conviction, high motivation, I think you're fine. I think for folks that are in more junior type of situations, I think as a society, we probably need to figure that out because, those kind of jobs I don't think are particularly resilient right now. Because I know you've used
Okay.
the tools, right? You've used the tools.
Yeah.
We're not in a situation yet where you can just like run a billion-dollar company with one person. It's just not there yet. Um,
No.
it's just
Absolutely, no,
not,
and that's what I wanted to ask you because it's very it's kind of what CEOs want to hear right now, right? Oh, I don't need anybody. I can just run it all by myself.
Yeah,
And yeah, okay, right. But it's not like our brain capacity just expanded tremendously in the last year, and we all of a sudden can manage 30 agents, which is like 30 junior, well, you can argue 30 junior engineers. And basically, at least that's what I hear from developers quite often, is that models now are giving you so much stuff. Even if you need to solve a very little particular problem, they will give you a sheet of code, and then your cognitive load is just crazy. And I'm just curious, for that person that you interviewed, how soon will they hit burnout and you will have to hire three more?
exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the reality. I'll give you an interesting example that's a little bit more precise, which is I think 6 months ago, maybe 12 months ago, CEOs, VCs were saying it's the death of product. We don't need product anymore, right? Engineers can just build. We don't need someone in between the customer and the engineer. Last week, I saw tweets from very prominent VCs, CEOs saying product has never been more important because in a world where you can build anything, the decision on what to build has never become more important. Because if you just let everyone build whatever, that doesn't create a great product. And so, I think there's a certain level of hyperbole of like, we don't need people anymore. We don't need product anymore. We don't need junior engineers anymore. There's some balance, right? Where actually like we do need some of these people. And I would say I agree, like with product, I sort of had that mentality last year. Like, why do we need product? By the way, my background is a chief product officer. So for me to say that is sort of tough. And of course, one of our first hires after our latest round was a head of product. So I think the way I'm thinking about all of this is that all of this chat and noise about, it's the end of this job and that job is more a prediction of probably what's going to come in the next 5 years. Like I do think if the pace of model improvement is what it is and that we're probably going to see some of this happen in 5 years, but it's not here today.
Yeah, I think it's a bit like everyone is trying to throw some hypothesis out there so that in 5 years somebody would write, he was always right about this. Yeah, these people,
Yeah.
this we don't need these people anymore, or we don't need product, or whatever. Choose
Yeah. Because I
what
think I think
goes.
one of the strange things, my I'm going to do a few hot takes in this because I think there's not,
Okay.
the fun thing about podcasts is you can throw out your hot takes.
Yep.
Is I don't think a lot of these AI tools are making companies more productive. I think it's giving people more time back to spend time on with their family. They can just let Claude like run and build a PowerPoint and then they can kind of, you know, go home earlier or they can go, they can take a break. That's what I think is really happening in these companies. I don't think suddenly everyone's like, "Oh, I can now I'm gonna continue working from 9 to 8 p.m. and I'm going to do like 3 times the work because of Claude." I think they're like, "Oh, I can now do 9 to 5 or 9 to 4 and still get all my work done super fast." So I just don't see how these companies are necessarily good. They're like laying off all these people, but I don't think it's because they're more productive. I think it's just that they hired too many people during COVID and now this is an excuse.
Yeah. Oh, no, that one I completely agree with. The
Yeah.
previous one, yes and no from my side, personally, because I think it's a bit like with remote work and COVID, right? When we were at home and, you have much more time, right? You don't have commute, you don't have to, spend too
Mm.
much time, uh, you know, um, walking to lunch or whatever you were doing, right? You could roll out of bed and start working. And that's what we kind of started doing because we were ashamed that somebody would think, oh my God, they're not working. What if they are not working? What if they are cooking or spending time with their family? And I think that's a bit what's happening now with AI. And I think a lot of people overproduce because they're like, oh shit, okay, now I can do all my work in 2 hours. So what am I doing? What am I getting paid for?
Mm.
And then they're like, ooh, okay, ka-ching. And they just, continue doing that, just uh, playing the slots. And I think that's where the slop is coming from. It's that
Oh, I see what you
you
mean.
think,
Yeah.
now we can do more.
Mm.
Why don't we? Let's
Yeah.
all do more.
Yeah, there's probably some
Yeah.
truth to that.
Maybe. I don't know. I like how, it's a discussion. But, let's get to you. Let's get to you and deduction. And, maybe before we jump in, just a quick intro what deduction does.
Yeah, Deduction is a AI tax firm that delivers tax services, including advice, planning, strategy, and of course, filing for US consumers. And what's special about us is we are equal parts AI engineers, equal parts CPAs and enrolled agents. And so we call ourselves an agentic service. And so we own both the technology and we also own the customer outcome. And our mission is really to really deliver the best accountant experience for a fraction of the price of that it is today in a market where, frankly, most CPAs are retiring and no one's joining the workforce. And so, we think this is a special time to build a company like this, given the tools that we have today. And that's deduction.com in a nutshell.
All right. Okay. I have many questions. So, first of all, you're giving this directly to consumers.
Yeah.
And we all heard, of course, about like things like OpenClaw and whatnot, and the claims that, oh, now you just set it up and it runs your life. But I feel
Yeah.
like, at least in this kind of social media realm, running your life more or less just means checking your emails and making sure you're not late for your dentist appointment. You took it a little, further. You're going after taxes, which is very sensitive topic, which requires trust, great security. And I feel like, and maybe we can discuss that a little deeper further. But it's not that you only have to build trust with your customers for the AI that is there, but is the fact that you're also maybe taking away the relationship and the trust that they already have with their accountants, right?
Mm.
Because I mean, if I've been working with Branda, who is who has been with my family for 30 years, she baptized my son and she knows everything. And yes, she is about to retire, but God, I love Brenda and she knows everything, can do my taxes in her sleep. Mm, that's, that's an additional layer that I'm losing potentially if I'm going with deduction, right?
Yeah.
So, again, that's a lot of questions in one. But
No, yeah, but I think your main point stands, which is um, in an AI future, people still want the human touch. And I think that is the right assumption or hypothesis. And so the way we the way we think about it is we have what we call CPAs in the loop, meaning if you work with deduction, you still have a human touch point. That could be an email, it could be a phone call, It could just be that they sign your return. But we always make sure that there's human oversight and that AI is really giving superpowers to the human experts as opposed to AI just going off and doing your taxes and advice. To be honest, I think there is a segment of the population, probably in our circles, Anna, the sort of tech community on X, who are sort of, hacking together their own AI tools in Claude, and they just want to do all their taxes with Claude. And that's great. I think that's a certain population. It's probably going to be a tough business. If you try and build a business around that, it's going to be difficult. What we're banking on is we can build a business where people really want a human guarantee. That is what I think are going to be the enduring businesses over the next few years. As the SaaS apocalypse plays out, what is it that's going to drive value in society, or let's say in tech? And my opinion is the value is going to accrue to three places. It's going to accrue to hardware, because at the end of the day, AI can't build its own hardware yet. The second place it's going to accrue is to the model providers. So if you want to go build a model or go work on a model, there's a lot of value that'll accrue there. And the third place where value is going to accrue is for anywhere where there is liability. Because where there's liability, people will want a human touch. And that's where what we're betting on is that with taxes, even though some of the tech community are happy to just have AI do their taxes, the vast majority of Americans are going to still be worried about, they're going to want that human guarantee that things are fine. And that's why we think you can actually build a profitable business in an AI world.
Okay. Talk to me about this, the relationship that I'm missing with Brenda, you know,
Yeah.
because I feel like that can be, an argument for a lot of people that,
Yeah.
I can no longer bitch about taxes with my accountant. Like, who wants that?
So as I said, I think we still maintain the human touch. Like, a lot of our clients will, even though they'll communicate with our agent, they'll
Mm,
also still communicate with our in-house team of CPAs and enrolled agents. What we found is that people are actually not that interested in just, getting on the phone and chit-chatting about taxes. They ultimately don't want to deal with it. That's why they hired the accountant in the first place.
mm,
What they do want to know is that Brenda is monitoring and supervising and guaranteeing that everything is good. So they want to know that that person is behind the scenes. And I think they want a face. And I think this is going to happen in many different industries. They want a face. It's like the most human thing. And so we're still experimenting with how to give that, as you say, make sure they feel like they're connected to Brenda.
mhm.
But my long story short here is I totally agree with you. And it's something that Deduction invests a lot of time in is, if everything is being done by AI, how do we make sure there's still a human connection?
Right. Wait, it has a name, right? It's Taylor, isn't it? Taylor for deduction?
The AI agent, yeah, has a name, Taylor at deduction.com. You can email right now, Anna, if you wanted, and you'll get a response
Okay.
from the agent. Um,
Okay. I
but
am actually
yeah,
looking for an accountant.
yeah. And especially with your international situation, I'm sure it'll test the boundaries of our agent.
Oh, yes, let's try that. It will probably tell me that it doesn't work with Russian citizens, and that will be the end of the conversation.
We should try, actually, we should try it. I think I'm quite intrigued.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, that would be fun. But tell me about, hiring Brendas, or, how you're keeping the human in the loop. Like, do you have hired accountants that are
Yeah.
with deduction, or does it work more like, I don't know, Uber? So, you have just a bunch of accountants that are kind of there and can
Yeah.
respond.
Yeah, we actually have a tax team in-house with licensed tax
Mm,
professionals. We're actually growing that team pretty rapidly. I just want to actually loop this back to the other question you had at the beginning of the podcast about, the people worry that they're not going to have jobs, and
Mm,
subject matter experts, I think, are going to be in really high demand. We really spend a lot of time trying to hire great accountants. Um, so we have CPAs, enrolled agents, tax admins. We expect that team to continue to grow. And again, to the earlier point, we're banking on the fact that if AI is going to eat a lot of tools and software, then what matters is human experts that are AI enabled.
okay. All right. So, I mean, that I think it's great for for people who are planning to use deduction, right? So there is a person, there is a face, like you said, that is going to sign off with every decision. So there is accountability. But coming from M&A industry, I've the thing that I always heard is that services don't scale. Services don't scale.
Yeah.
We like if there is a service with the SaaS, it's not scalable. Nobody wants that. VCs are afraid of that. Acquirers are afraid of that. So, how how much do you think you can scale that system that you have right now? And do you see like the virtual cap that is already there?
Yeah. The interesting thing is that in 12 months, the the belief that services don't scale has completely reversed. I think you probably saw Sequoia and A16Z came out with their new article saying the next $1 trillion software companies are going to be services companies.
Mm,
So when we started Deduction, we did face some of the commentary that you're mentioning. Now, services are the hot thing. I went to a dinner with Anthropic and some VCs, and half the companies were services companies. I still think the question you mentioned is still valid. No one has yet proved that you can suddenly, with AI, services are infinitely scalable.
yeah.
That said, my belief is that some services are primed for AI scaling and some services will continue to be unscalable. My belief is that any service that has relatively predictable workflows can be scaled to a massive, massive scale. Um, Tax and accounting services are pretty predictable. If you ask a question, you know, generally we can predict the answer. If you want to know your estimated quarterly taxes, that's a pretty predictable workflow. If you want to get your tax return done, that's a really predictable workflow. If you're fighting litigation, I'm not sure that's totally predictable. Litigation is so much to do with story and what's happening in the physical courtroom and um, how you're interviewing witnesses. That's some legal services, I think, are potentially not super scalable, which is why you may have noticed the agentic legal service companies are all focused on predictable workflows. You've got Manifest Law, which focuses on immigration. Immigration, very predictable workflow. Crosby, sales contracts, very predictable workflow. So I think that's where we're going to see the services companies that are very predictable, I think will reach massive scale. And of course, Deduction is betting on that. Um, and then I think the services where, it's less predictable, it's going to be more tough to scale.
Okay. So now you're betting on what you said at the beginning, right? So nobody really wants to be an accountant. This is not sexy anymore, let's face it. And accountants are retiring. So there is definitely a demand in the industry. And I'm just wondering if, all of a sudden, more and more people listen to this episode and they're like, okay, that could be cool. I want to be an accountant. Let's make this
Yeah.
great again. What if the bet stops being that successful, are you planning to make it into more of a like a full-fledged finance kind of system, or this is what you're working on right now, and basically, okay, let's nail this down and then think about everything else?
Yeah, I think, tax alone is a $18 billion market. Um, and there's a lot of adjacent services that we want to deliver. So, I think a lot of people sort of think, oh, you start with taxes and then do wealth advisory and then you do a bank and then you do a credit card. Um, but if you think about a company like Robinhood, incredible company, they really have mastered investing. And then over time, they've added, a little bit of banking as well. But it's not like they've suddenly gone and started doing taxes, right?
Mm,
And so I think like the really great companies in the world, like they focus a lot and make one service really amazing before they start expanding. And I think we want to focus on generally the services around tax. And you just saw last week ChatGPT, OpenAI announced personal finance
yeah.
built into ChatGPT, right? Claude is going to announce the same thing. So I think that's going to be a knife fight to try and do like budgeting and all this kind of thing. We like services. To your point, though, about people may listen to this episode and say, you know what? If there's a lack of accountants, I want to be an accountant. So, one of the things that we are launching this year is the Deduction Partner Program. And the Deduction Partner Program is basically a program where if you want to start your own accounting firm and you're like, okay, the AI apocalypse is coming. I need to own my own destiny. I'm going to start my own company, but I don't know what AI tools to use. I don't know about marketing. I don't know how to build a brand. I don't know how to hire enrolled agents and CPAs. I don't know how to deal with billing and accounting and legal, but I want to start a company so I can secure my future. And I want to make sure it's an AI enabled company. Then you can join the Deduction Partner Program where you can build your own firm, but utilize all of Deduction's back office, technology,
Mhm.
legal and accounting services, brand and marketing. And so think of it like the new age franchise. And I
Okay.
think that's what I think is going to be powerful for future generations is they should start their own AI companies, but how do they get going? And so we want to
Mm.
help young people start businesses that are AI enabled without them having to go build their own MCP servers and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what annoyed me quite a bit when this whole, AI apocalypse started, and all of a sudden there was so much pressure, and everyone was saying, okay, if you're an engineer but you're not learning marketing, or you're not doing marketing with Claude or whatnot, then you're behind. And if you're a marketer but you are not learning code and you're not coding with code, or again whatnot, then you're behind. And I was like, that's so stupid, because you go and it's code and you're just completely overwhelmed and you feel dumb and frustrated and annoyed, and it's just, your mental capacity is through the roof. Why aren't there people or more companies employing those people who would just come and do that and show you, okay, this is how it's done, and this is how it's done. And we're here
Yeah,
to help you and show you the way. And then, well, this is working and this is automated already, then you can go and learn and you can, create something better, maybe in 3 months, in 4 months, but we'll take that shitload of uh, anxiety off of your shoulders and just give it to you. So that's a cool
exactly.
idea. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, a lot of the industry is beginning to realize some of this. The CEO of Box, who I respect, said that he is now convinced. I don't know if you saw his tweets, that he's spoken
Yep.
to like 100 or 50 of the Fortune 500. And what is clear to him is that the vast majority of business and industry have no idea how to implement AI. Like, we
Yeah.
think that MCP servers and skills and all of this stuff is like so amazing and easy and intuitive and like, oh yeah, I'll just create a Claude skill. The reality is, like, most people don't have time to think about this. They don't understand. It's changing every single week. Like, this AI harness, that AI harness, this model, that model, Google Spark, Google Gemini 2.5 Flash. It's like crazy. We love it, right?
Yeah.
But the everyday, go take a walk in like a normal city in America or in Portugal or wherever, and people are just getting on with their lives. So AI has to fit into
Yes.
people's lives. And I think the big winners are going to be the people that are able to fit AI into everyday life without calling it AI. Because like the
Mm.
average person doesn't care about AI. And so, he said, the CEO of Box said, he is convinced that forward deployed engineers who help companies transform to AI enabled companies is going to be like a really big business, as opposed to just building AI SaaS tools and just selling it to people.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's drop that big chunk of spaghetti next to everyone else on the wall, and see if it sticks. And in 5 years, that guy is the one
Exactly.
in the headlines. But you said it, and like, I have my absolute favorite meme of all times right now, of all times, well,
Mm.
the last year, is that, and it's this saying, everyone automates, everyone talks about SaaS apocalypse and product and branding and blah blah blah, and meanwhile in Portugal, and it's like this shaky little stool with some cloth on it, and a bottle of wine and some glasses, and it says €1 50, and there is absolutely nobody. So it's self-serve PLG, and I'm like, yes, come on, let's just chill. Like you said, let's go touch grass. I have a very, very strict policy now at home that there is no AI on the weekends, like absolutely
Mm.
no. So sometimes my kid, I actually built. Okay, I built a tool um, for his school break, because I knew that he would go crazy if he doesn't have anything, stimulating his brain. So in that tool, there was a link to this MIT program for kids, where you
Mm.
teach AI. You you teach AI to see, like, for example, what is in the ocean, a fish or trash or happy fish or sad fish,
Wow.
and sometimes he comes to me and he says, "Can we go back to that thing where AI is dumb?" And I'm like, "Yes, oh, can we? Can we? Please?" Because I think we missed those times. But anyway, there.
Do you,
I mean, if you, yes,
yeah, do you think that, the children especially, there's a danger that, they're just going to spend all their time talking to these AI agents and AI friends, and on the weekends they just need to like unplug from AI and, just go do kid things.
yeah, I don't think. I mean, again, it's very, very difficult to like, just offer you an objective opinion, because I'm based in Thailand. I mean, I am pretty sure in the neighborhood where I live, maybe two other people know what AI is or what ChatGPT is, because it's super rural. It's very, everyone is a nurse or works at the market, and people are super down to earth, and kids here literally just spend all their time with water balloons, just running around. nobody's really on their phones. Like my kid doesn't have a phone or a tablet or anything like this. He has my
Mm.
computer with, very limited time with dumb AI and his mama built programs. But I think, well, hopefully not. Hopefully not. Hopefully you're only partially right. Because I'm absolutely sure, yes, it will change education and how they,
Mm.
work with knowledge. Um, but hopefully we preserve a bit of, curiosity and still
And
kind of
multiple
ability
insights.
to think. Yes, I mean those are precious. Oh God, please preserve those. But yeah, okay. Let's go back to deduction. And
Yeah.
you guys have been, and as much as I don't know about American tax seasons, but you have been through one. And I
Yeah.
wonder what was the biggest, I don't know, argument, bottleneck, any friction that you have noticed where it's either people, telling you what else they want or what else they don't want, or it's you kind of, understanding, all right, where we have to go in a different direction.
I think um, to be a little bit more on the technical side, I think the bottleneck that most AI companies will find is that AI is only as fast and as good as the data that you give it, the context that you give it. And if your data infrastructure and building data infrastructure, you can't just like vibe code that. You can't just be like, oh, just build me like a data infrastructure that will support my massive AI platform. So, we invest a lot of time and energy into data infrastructure. I would say, that is definitely the bottleneck for many companies, including us, is, how can you give the AI platform as much information and context as possible? And so that's another point to, what we discussed earlier about, oh, the next, people are saying you can just build $1 billion company with one person. Well, it turns out that with AI, you still need really strong infrastructure, really good architecture. You still need really technical people that can architect all of that. And that's why, every single one of my friends is vibe coding these like random little widgets, but none of them are production ready, like, so there's still an art to software engineering. And that's where we felt the bottleneck the most, and where we invest a lot of time.
All right. Yeah, I posted recently about that, and the fact that, vibe coding is great and AI for development is great. But if you're building something that needs to be safe and good and well thought of, and, there is a great UX, then you need time. And it exploded a little bit. And I got some angry CTOs in my comments saying, oh my God, that's bullshit. You're just being ripped off by your developers who are still manually just typing, for 10 hours a day. And they're like, no, no, I'm not even paying them. It's just,
Yeah.
it's,
And
yeah.
yeah, and I think like two things I think about is taste matters. Like,
Oh, yes.
I was using a product called Screen Studio, which I'm not sponsored by them, but shout out to them because I think it's a really nice product. It's a very simple product which helps you record really nice screen recordings. So it's like not a like super complicated thing. You could vibe code it yourself, I think. But would you want to spend time doing that and like testing it and then maintaining it? Or would you rather just pay $30 a month? So I think like it's still, and it's a really beautiful product and it works. So I think, people have to delineate between like products that it's just not worth to build it yourself because like you've got better things to do. And I think the best summary of this I heard was from Gokul on X, where he said, if you are trying to sell your software to at like, let's say, more than $500,000 ACV, annual contract volume, then you're going to trigger the question of, is it cheaper to just build this product? It's like, if your product triggers that question to the buyer of, is it cheaper to just build this? Then that's, then you are going to encounter this, like, oh, like, should we just vibe code this thing? But I think anything that is like generally lower than that, it's still like, you got to ask the question, like, is it worth, are people going to be, do people just want to vibe code every single tool that they use? Or are they just going to still pay for things because, I could go to the grocery store or I could just get it delivered, right? Because I got better things to do.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
Yeah, absolutely. Do you vibe code? What is it that you vibe coded lately?
you know, it's things that I generally want to contribute, like interesting MCP servers and skills to like the community. So one thing that I did build, it needs a little bit of work, is phone-based restaurant reservations. So
Okay.
it's a skill that you can download and give to Claude, and then Claude can go call restaurants and book reservations.
Okay. What is wrong with good old calling
Too much time, I just
to
need to call like 5 different restaurants. But yeah, what about you? What have you vibe coded?
Yeah, I vibe code some silly things for my little one. Vibe coded a tool that helped. You know how difficult it is sometimes to find out who's going to a conference. And we've been doing some live events, so I vibe coded this tool that was scraping LinkedIn and a bunch of other things, uh, and giving me a list of people who either was talking about going there or were already based there or were based in a certain radius around the city, and it was all also tailored to like a specific topic that they were talking about with an outreach message and stuff like that. So if we have, for
Cool.
example, similar interests, right? um I don't know, restaurants, okay, who doesn't love food? um then I could say, yeah, hey, Sai, I'm coming to New York for this event, and I heard there's a great new coffee shop with bagels to die for.
Mm,
We should maybe set up a meeting there and
that's
chat
cool.
deduction. Yeah, that was really nice. I mean, it's very difficult to work with LinkedIn, and I think what is that tool? Windshield? Shield? Windshield? Shield? You tell me.
Yeah.
But they just announced that they're winding down, and basically, like a day later, there was this big article saying, okay, this is the end of like gray area, shady LinkedIn tools. And I thought, oh my God, that's the end of my little vibe coded tool as well.
You know
But
what I think? One of the most exciting things that I I um I saw was Google I/O, and I'm sure you followed all that news yesterday, the day before.
oh God,
Um,
yes.
but I
That was a bit
wonder if
overwhelming.
it was like, I don't know how many product names they have. They need to figure that out. However, very exciting. And I wonder if vibe coding, like, Google search, it feels like is basically evolving into perhaps the sort of like the way that most people are going to vibe code question, like quotations. Like when we talk about the billions of people in the world, what do they basically do when they want to get something done? Is they Google it, right? They want to find something, do something, learn something. And so I have a feeling, one prediction we can throw out there, spaghetti against the wall, is that for the majority of the world, we're not talking about our small X community, who are like again, who like love vibe coding and like, for the vast majority of people, Google will effectively vibe code whatever you need at a given moment when you search for it on Google. And I think we saw the teaser of that at Google I/O, where a student asks a question about a black hole and it generates like this kind of animation and you can like change the parameters and things. That's vibe coding, right? But it's like without all
Mm,
of the nonsense of vibe coding that you have to deal with, like the infrastructure, the virtual machines. And so I think that's like, I wonder if Google is really going to own this and maybe it's time to buy more Google stock, Alphabet stock. Is do they
yeah.
basically just for the vast majority of the population who have no idea what vibe coding, they don't even understand what coding is, let alone vibe coding. It's going to just like Google it. Google will make it for me, you know?
That's an interesting one. I actually thought like when people started saying again, uh, SEO is dead and Google is dead, and oh my God, what are we gonna do now with it's only Chat GPT. I thought, oh my God, no, no,
No
Google's
way.
never gonna die.
No
Absolutely
way.
not. First of all, everything you're getting from Chat GPT is basically Google. Googling it just a different shape or form. And at the end of the day, Google is just way too cool to give up that
Yeah.
easily.
Don't
I don't
bet
know.
don't bet against
Somehow,
Sundar, you know?
somehow, I'm
Don't
a fan.
Yeah, and like the things that the universal cart that they announced on Monday was like,
Mm,
this is where I think whoever has the most data can deliver the most amazing experiences. I think obviously, and we've all talked about it ad nauseum. You look at your iPhone and you're like, wow, there's so much data here, and it just feels so dumb, right? Because there's just no AI on the iPhone, basically. So, I dare I say, I was almost thinking like, is it? I'm a diehard iPhone Apple guy, and I'm like, do I move to Android? So I know we're a
yes,
bit off topic, but that's definitely I think Google is like crushing it, basically.
yes, absolutely. Anyway, I just have a couple more questions for you. So first of all, I cannot not ask, right? I'm very, mm, you know, I think I give out a very skeptical vibe about AI, and I am a little bit. But just because people are way too excited, it's every time there is a hype, Bitcoin, NFT, whatever, and there are so many people who are instantly gurus and know how to do it and tell you how to do it, and people really like to go with the easiest option and just kind of find their group. So I'm I'm trying to stay away and kind of just to see what's going to happen. And my biggest concern is that yes, okay, let's use AI, but somehow we we trust it way too easily, right? With opinions, right? Oh my God, I no longer want to ask my mom how to, I don't know, cook something. I would rather ask AI, right? Um, or even, it comes to the point where if I'm very, in general, confident in my knowledge about what I do, like lately, I catch myself thinking, "Oh, but yeah, let's ask ChatGPT. Probably knows better, or Claude, Gemini, whatever." And it's just like it's mind-boggling, and I'm so annoyed. And the fact that when it all got released and we were empowered to use it, basically what we were told is connect everything to AI. Connect sensitive company data, connect your calendar, your email, your, Canva, Claude, whatever you're using. And it's just kind of out there. And with deduction, right? Connect your taxes.
Yep.
So my question is, okay, how safe is it? And when Taylor does something wrong, who's accountable?
Yes. This is why we have 100% guarantee against interest and penalties. It's something that we did from day one. And I think it's to address your exact question, which is if we do make a mistake, if we make all these claims about AI, we better back it up. And that's what I think we've done. And I think most companies who claim, AI can do this, that, and the other, they should then back it up with a guarantee. Like we'll refund you, we'll pay your penalties, whatever it is in whatever industry. I think that's important. And I think it's important to win consumer trust. And back to our prior point, Anna, I think just walk down an average street anywhere in the world. People don't care about AI. They just care about like something being done for them and they care about the price. And so, I think ensuring that you build their trust is important.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. It's just, I'm thinking where, yeah,
And to give you
where
maybe
and
another
how.
example, like another example is, in our interface, in the top right hand corner is our cell number for the business. Like you can text and call, and a human is going to pick up and text you back. I think, again, in this like
Claude
AI
told me,
world,
Claude told me it was your number at some point.
yeah,
Is that true? Is it
it's
a
like
rumor?
it's my business cell
Okay.
number. Did Claude actually tell you that?
Yes.
Wow, crazy. Um,
There you go.
so in this world where AI eats everything, I think the human touch point matters even more. And so again, I think to that point, um, you have to get people to trust you.
All right. Okay. All right. I have just one more question.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be deduction. It doesn't have to be, anything sauce. What lately excited you on the internet? It can even be a new jazz pianist. I
So
know
yeah,
about your.
yeah. I want to make it not.
Yeah.
Can I give two answers?
Yes.
So I will say I was excited about the universal shopping cart that Google announced on Monday. I think that's super cool. I can imagine like adding stuff to my shopping cart and the AI agent checks when prices come down and things like that. In terms of non AI, non tech on the internet, I
I mean,
think
okay, arguably everything is on the internet, so you can just tell me anything.
I think what has excited me recently, you know what? I'll tell you, I think it was non AI generated classical music that I discovered a playlist on Apple Music, which is technically still the internet. Um, and I play that on a speaker that I have attached to our stroller to my 8 month old. And, it's a way to disconnect. And I was excited by that to not have to deal with AI for 30 minutes of my day and instead listen to classical music. So,
That's awesome. All right, share the playlist, and I will make sure to have it in the comments.
yeah,
I think we can all have 30 minutes of classical music and
yeah.
touching grass.
And water balloon fights.
Yes, true. Oh God, imagine, yeah, water balloon fight with the classical music.
Beautiful.
Oh my God,
Cinematic.
they're gonna go
Yeah.
crazy. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much. I mean, it's been great talking to you. Honestly, I think you pretty much answered every concern that I had, and we might need to do the experiment and set it up between me and Taylor and
Yeah.
see if is it he or she? What kind of Taylor is
Whatever you
that?
want.
Whatever you want. Okay, great. Um, yeah, if he, yeah, let it be he.
Sure.
If he could help me,
We
or
should
he'll
try
be
it out.
like, no, no. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, and
Thanks, Anna.
hope to do it again sometime.
Perfect.
Sounds good. Bye.
Bye bye.